cosplay world. Welcome back to the second in a three-part series where we make Usopp from One Piece's accessories. The other two being the mask and especially the goggles. The goggles have some pretty cool adjustable things, lots of detail, lots of fun things there. If you're interested in supporting the Final Cosplay Corps and all that we do and seeing all this awesome content and even more content in the armory, check out finalcosplaycorps.com, get a free trial, check out the awesome videos and things we have there. But enough of the sales pitch, let us go on to the project at hand. So, the slingshot is going to be made largely of two pieces of PVC sheeting. PVC pipe, sorry. So I'm used to saying PVC sheeting because I use it so much. But we're going to be filling the arm sections of the slingshot with plaster Paris because filling it with some sort of aggregate, fine aggregate, helps keep it from collapsing when we're going to shape it. Now traditionally you see this done in sand, but I'm going to be using plaster Paris because that's what I have on hand. Now if you happen to have sand, I would say try it that way because I've had better results with it, but this got me where I wanted to go, especially considering this was a complex curve, a double, triple curve, whatever, however you want to describe this particular weird slingshot design. After fighting with it for a bit, I went, this is pretty good, I'll fill it in, round it out, it'll be fine, and it was fine. So a bit more work, maybe a bit more patience, it would have saved me some other things, but it turned out good. And we're going to be attaching the handle with another PVC pipe. There's a wood dowel in the handle to give it a bit more support, and we're going to be attaching it to the arm section by cutting a slit down the pipe and flattening the two sides of that slit onto the main shaft and putting screws into it. Four screws on the side, and then what we're going to do to re-secure that as well is put one big long screw going straight through the arms of the slingshot into the handle. There we go. That should give it a good place, a good support base, but we're going to do more. As you can see, we had a nice big water-friendly plastic. That's those beads of plastic that we're heating up and melting into that blob. What we're going to be doing with that is, one, making the little bulbous ends for the slingshot, to filling in any place that wasn't perfectly rounded, and three, supporting the neck or the place where the arms split from the main handle. Now as you can see, we're heating this up and we're refining the surface shape. We're going to be doing quite a lot of this, as you will see, because I want to give it a kind of wood texture, and I also want it to be round. Of course you can see underneath that it's not perfectly round, and we're going to fix that. Now what you see me doing with my t-shirt there is giving it a wood or a grain, a texture. We don't want it to be nice and shiny like plastic, we want it to kind of look like wood. So what I'm doing there is pressing the fabric pattern from my shirt into the plastic as it's cooling, thus giving it a texture, not being shiny and smooth. Okay. Now, the way we're attaching the string, which is, it's a non-functional slingshot. I mean, the design's already wacky enough. It would be a huge pain in the butt to try and make a functional one, and make it like structurally sound. But we're going to have a non-functional one for convention rules. It's just regular laces. These are, just laces. One problem I ran into is actually stringing them through, because the hole has to pass through the friendly plastic and then possibly some plaster in the pipe and all this and that. It would just fray at the end. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a bit of the friendly plastic already melted on hand, and I'm sticking it to the tip. When it cools down, it's going to be a little point, kind of like a needle. I'm going to thread it through and pull it to the other side, and it works well enough. I end up cutting away the extra bit that I stuck on there, but it gets the job done. And a regular needle for at the end, either you'd have a knot or you'd have a scenario where it's pretty easy to fray the end. We already don't want to fray it anymore. Well, we don't want to fray it anymore than it already would be frayed. Okay, so we're gonna base coat this. We have some light green here. It's apple barrel, or yeah, it's apple barrel. I still have quite a bit of paint on hand for my projects. I would advocate switching to Delta brand. It doesn't have every color in the world, but Delta brand has a bit much nicer pigment density, which is why I use it. It's good at covering things up smoothly and evenly. Now, this is just a base coat. So, what's going to happen here is when I paint it on, all of the imperfections and the textures will come to light. It's just something that is easier to see once you have paint on it. Little deformations and textures that you don't want, holes, imperfections, these seem to come out for me personally once I add the primer coat, the base coat. And it's totally fine to go in and start messing with it. I have on many occasions stopped what I was doing once I've done a base coat and sanded and primed again because it wasn't what I was looking for. So I'm going to be reheating the surface and rounding it out where I'm not exactly happy with it, adding material where it needs to and taking away material where there's just too much. That's just fine if I don't get it right on the first pass. If I'm not happy with how the shape of the bulbs are, I'm going to heat them up and do it again. I would preferably have not had the string in there, but I had to find some middle ground where I attached the laces for the strings in a reasonable time. I only had, if I attach it later, I would have to repaint it and do all the detail work around the strings, and the major risk here is getting paint on the strings. It is, however, kind of a pain in the butt to make sure that the strings aren't messed up. There is going to be a cloth wrap around the handle there. We're going to be gluing that on with just some white glue and securing it in place. The sling, the place where you're putting the weapon, the rock for the sling, that's going to be cut out from some scrap leather on hand, punching some holes into that, and then lacing the lace. Yeah, the lace through and tying it off the knot. It's totally non-functional and that's just there for pretties. In fact, I think the lace is at this point in the video a little too long, so we'll be cutting that a bit short and making that look a bit better. So with a bit more fiddling of me reheating and gluing, we're going to finish this off. But of course, whenever I'm making anything, I tend to mess with it to the extreme until I'm really happy with it. It is kind of a problem where I'll just fiddle with it and possibly make it worse in the process. So I have to know when to stop fiddling with it and say, okay, that's good. That's where it needs to be. Okay, so the customer got it. He was happy with it. He used it for a few conventions, I should say. Here he is. You'll see him in all the other videos playing with his accessories as he gets them. If you're interested in seeing those, check out finalcosplaycore.com for the mask and the goggles. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for your support. Good times to all. Hurrah! If you like this video, we have a matching video on finalcosplaycore.com. Click the link in the description to check it out.